I'm Christy.
And I'm Kathy.
And this is The Psychic
And the Skeptic. Welcome to episode 3 of our podcast. We are going to start a series on the paranormal. This is part 1, where we will discuss different paranormal phenomenon. There are certain terms that we use as paranormal investigators. We've come up with what we call a paranormal theory. And according to paranormal theory, we've got residual type hauntings versus intelligent. We also have other types of activity, which we'll get into in another part to this series. But we'd like to focus this particular conversation on residual versus intelligent. So, according to paranormal theory, what is a residual haunting? This is a haunting where a ghost or apparition repeats a specific event or loop of its past, like a ghost sighting with no intelligence or awareness of the living. It's the replaying of a traumatic event. Oftentimes it's a death, or where the energy imprints itself onto the environment or the location, creating a continuous loop or cycle of the event. So sometimes we have clients reach out to us, and this is one of the things that we're trying to figure out with the activity they're experiencing. Assuming it is paranormal, we're looking to see, is it interacting? Because that would then indicate an intelligent. Some of the questions we'll ask our clients when they reach out to us is, do you notice your activity happening at a certain time of day,
right,
over and over again?
Or night.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Does it happen
at a certain time?
Right, in a certain room, or even if the weather is at a certain time of year? Winter, spring, summer, or some of the more rare activities that they're experiencing. So, and some of that leans more towards that theory that the environment needs to be set up exactly like it was when the event occurred. So say a murder happens on a location, and it was a stormy night. Well, there was a lot of electricity in the air, in the environment. And therefore, when it storms, this is when this family might be seeing or hearing things just as it was when the murder had occurred. So that would be like an example of a residual haunting.
And to kind of give a visual too, it could be every Saturday, right? Or every other Saturday at 2 a.m., a person could see a little girl appear at the end of their hallway. And They tried to talk to her, but she doesn't say anything, and then she suddenly disappears, or maybe she's looking through them, like at them, but through them, right? Like there's nothing going on.
Right. And then on the flip side, an intelligent haunting would be the type of paranormal activity where spirits involved are said to be aware of the living, capable of interacting with them in a meaningful way. So unlike a residual haunting that replays past events, these intelligent entities may be able to communicate, move objects, or even cause harm, which I think is extremely rare.
On which part?
Yes.
On causing harm or moving objects or communicating. Well, maybe from the skeptic point of view. My opinion, intelligent hauntings happen more than residual. What do you think? Do you think that?
Well, I think from a skeptical or more scientific point of view, you could see how, there's a lot we don't understand about physics and quantum physics and all kinds of things. We're still studying and learning things all the time. And consciousness is a new thing that's getting more attention in the scientific field of research, and what is consciousness and how is it there. So this residual, it seems more likely because of how energy can imprint itself. We know ball lightning exists. It's a phenomenon where you can see light like plasma that appears from a storm. So when the electricity in the environment is right, that can be something that's created and seen as like a haunting if you're looking from the paranormal perspective.
I will say something with the storm that I have noticed in all my years of investigating is that when you have a lot of lightning in the air, it actually charges the ions in the air.
And so that leads to some paranormal theory where that creates some energy that a spirit can use to communicate. But at the same time, from the skeptic viewpoint, that can also explain away some of the activity, and we can just chalk it up to extra electromagnetic field in the environment causing some kind of sounds or things like that. But again, it's not been proven or repeated easily, so the scientific mindset or skeptical mindset is still not ready to accept that as paranormal.
Of course. But I can tell you though, on some of the equipment, for example, the EMF tripwire, I know that if a storm is brewing and there's a lot of lightning that goes with it,
right,
it can set off those tripwires.
Right, which is picking up the EMF, which is electromagnetic fields. Correct. Or energy. So that to me, as a skeptic, I see that activate and I'm thinking that is not paranormal. That is because the environment is charged with a lot of electricity.
And we know when paranormal activity happens, it usually will happen kind of quick. And it usually doesn't repeat itself. So if we notice something is going on that is repeating in the way of activity, you can chalk it up to false. It's not legitimate paranormal activity.
Right. So like the equipment that we use as investigators, if it's constantly going off, then that tells us, okay, that's probably not paranormal, because in paranormal theory, it takes a lot of energy for said spirit to manifest itself or to create some kind of activity, whether that's a shadow, whether it's to create a voice that we hear with our ears or a voice that we catch on our recorders. That takes a lot of energy to do that, or we assume so.
Well, if you recall, we've been on several investigations to where we might be trying to get a spirit to interact with us, either on our equipment or whatever. And it seems like there for a while, the energy is there. And then after a while, it kind of dissipates.
Right. Or we may be hearing noises. It may seem like it's interacting with us, and that goes to the residual versus intelligent. But then you're right, it kind of stops. Or sometimes you even get a feeling. It feels like the air is charged, like the electricity or the hair on your skin is standing up. And then the environment changes over time and it feels pretty calm. You don't feel like the air is thick or charged. And again, the skeptic's going to say that's humidity, that's literally an electrical charge in the air, just like a storm being nearby.
Or some recorded, like if we were left in a room on its own,
different
asking
techniques
questions
that we use. Yeah.
Right. And you could go into that room right after the recording and you can feel that thickness, that heaviness, that charge that's in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I've done this enough to know that, it is different. The environment feels different in different cases. And so sometimes we'll stay in a room based on how it feels, thinking that we might be able to capture some activity. But this episode is really looking at residual versus intelligent. That's a good place to start when we talk about the paranormal, because a lot of our clients are scared and that's why they reach out to us. So they're thinking they might have something intelligent that could harm them, or they're having objects move and they're thinking that this is something that's trying to gain their attention, whether a positive way or a negative way. So they're usually wanting to know, what is it, why is it there, and why is it concerned with us? So that would be an intelligent. And we'll go in and we'll investigate and come up with what we can't explain away. So after we do some debunking and determine logical explanations for some of that activity, what we're left with can give us more answers on whether we think what they're experiencing is actually interacting with them, or if it could be something residual. And residual is technically not a ghost. I mean, if you're going to believe the paranormal is something that actually exists, a ghost would not be residual. That's an imprint. It's not intelligent. It's not a spirit that is trying to talk and speak with you. And so, unfortunately, if we do find a residual or a location to have residual type activity, then that is something that they can't really get rid of because it's imprinted and stamped into the environment. You'd have to change the environment somehow.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to move. So rarely does that happen where we have to tell somebody, oh, you got to move.
I think that's only happened once or twice in my whole time of doing this.
I personally wouldn't even recommend moving. I think that even if this is something real, that it's something you can deal with. But if harm is being done, I mean,
then that's an issue.
I know. This could be a whole other topic.
Now, let me ask you this. So do you feel like a place can have both residual and an intelligent haunting?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I guess so. Because, intelligent, who knows why it's there? And I would say like 90% of our residential type cases, the activity seems to, based on what you pick up on when you're there, so you're reading psychically what's going on, that most of the time the activity is attached to the family or somebody in the family. So we'll go on an investigation. We won't really have hardly any activity or as far as evidence collected, because the client may be away from the home while we're investigating.
Right.
And so we've called them to come back towards the end of our investigation when we feel like not really anything's happening, and have them sit down with us and talk. And then we pick up, or you're able to read the spirit that's involved in what they're experiencing.
Right.
And that tells us, oh, we didn't get activity until you were there. So it likely has something to do with a family member just trying to communicate, let them know that they're there. That's that intelligent
attachment.
Right. Or yes, it's trying to communicate with the homeowner. And that's usually when those cases are the kind where I'm doing a little historical research and there's really not much with the property where I could see potential for anything happening. There's like no traumatic event. Nobody died in the home.
Especially if it's a newer home that's been built too.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a whole lot of history.
We do have some examples that we've collected over the years of electronic voice phenomenon that that
EVP.
That when you hear it and what they're saying, we can kind of tell, hey, that's interacting with us. That's a voice that's trying to talk to us because it fits the conversation, right?
Right.
And then there's other activity like a residual type. Oftentimes I feel like that's the stomping that really doesn't interact with what we're doing. We're just sitting there having a conversation and all of a sudden we hear footsteps. So we do have an example of that we'd like to set up and play that for you. So this is a clip that comes from a case we did in Atchison, Kansas, the McIntyre Villa. So it's a mansion built by a prominent, what is he? Well, he made saddles. So at the time he built the house, it was 1889, and he lived there with his first wife, who died shortly after moving in.
Right, Alice.
Yep. And then he had a second wife, Anna, who he married, and she still had 3 boys, 2 or 3 boys from her previous marriage. And so the family moves into this house, and he died in the home. So there were several deaths in this house.
Anna died too later.
Yes. She did later, but before that, while living there, one of her sons had been back from World War I and had been suffering from some PTSD, not recognized at that time, but I think they called it despondency or depression.
Yeah.
Yes. And so he'd been suffering, and one evening he was complaining of a headache, told the family he was going to go upstairs to his room.
Right. His name was Charles.
Charles, yes.
Yeah.
And he went up to his room and took a .22 caliber rifle to his head. And of course, I've got to put a little disclaimer here. This mentions suicide, so that can be a rough topic. So if you need to fast forward a little bit, you can go ahead and do that. But he had taken this .22 caliber rifle and shot himself in the head. So the family had heard the gunshot, and his uncle ran upstairs, knowing he had just gone up to his room and had found him. According to the newspaper report, it had taken him 2 hours for him to pass away. So that can leave a lot of energy in that environment.
Oh, yeah.
So during our investigation there, we were in the second floor, sitting in the hallway just outside of his room, which is now called the library. Right. It is set up like a library.
They split the room in 2 and then put a bathroom in between, supposedly.
Something, yeah. There'd been, but the uncle was a prominent lawyer too, so I think that room was set up from before with some old law books on the shelves. So
right.
But we were sitting in the hallway outside that room, not really expecting any activity from him per se, but some footsteps had occurred in the hallway that really got my attention. Actually, we were setting up our equipment, and the rest of the team was on the first floor while I was up in the second floor hallway. So I'm going to get this clip pulled up for you. It's a little longer of a clip because it was really just me putting some equipment around. You can kind of hear the rest of the team in the background speaking from the bottom floor because I'm near the stairwell that goes downstairs. So I'll pull that up for you right now. Hey, Christy, are you up here?
I'm right here on the landing. Where are you?
I'm in the hallway, and I had footsteps next to me.
Huh?
I'm in the hallway, and I had footsteps next to me.
Oh, yeah, it's just us?
No.
You heard footsteps up there?
Yeah, it was right next to me.
Oh, Oh, okay. Hang on, I'm coming.
Okay, so as you heard in the beginning of the clip, there were several footsteps. And when I heard this with my ears. This wasn't something that was recorded on audio that I found later. But I could feel the steps in the floor in my feet. And naturally, the skeptic in me, after this happened, I looked around to see where the plumbing was, where the bathrooms were. Could there possibly be any heat pipes in the floor? And there were none in this area. The heating was more external on the outside walls. This hallway was on an interior part, and the nearest bathroom was nowhere near where I felt these steps. Plus, it was the middle of the summer, and it was about 1,000 degrees out in Kansas where we were, so the heat was not running, and nor did we have any air conditioning running at the time. So all this is just to show you how the skeptic side of me needs to debunk things, and because when I can't find a logical explanation, it really kind of leaves me left with possibly the paranormal. So this particular case wasn't really that long ago. I mean, I've mentioned before, I've been investigating for 14 years now, or since 2009.
It was we did it in July of 2023.
Yeah, so it's been 2 years now.
Yeah.
And so it's rare where I have activity that really leaves me with nothing that I can logically explain. So after this, we had the whole team up in the hallway to try to focus in this area. And I don't think it was right away. We started our investigation in another place, and we're like, well, we definitely need to go up in that hallway.
Right.
That's where I heard all the footsteps, and I felt them.
There were 3 of us.
So, right. And we want to make
Curtis.
sure that all of us experience this, so it's not just a single personal experience, because that happens on investigations too.
Right.
And it's stronger when more than one of us witnesses whatever the activity is. So we're all sitting in the hallway, me, you, Christy, and Curtis.
That's it.
That was it, just the three of us?
The other half of the team was downstairs investigating.
So they were 2 floors below us
the
in the basement. So there was no way that they were doing any of these noises. They were doing their own investigation downstairs.
Right.
So the 3 of us were sitting up there, and we began smelling cigarette smoke.
Yep.
Right. And so, again, where we were positioned, the hallway, that main hallway on the 2nd floor, is in the middle of the house. So we're not near any windows. We purposefully don't have any windows open because you don't want the sound contamination, birds, whatever else, cars driving by.
Barking,
It ruins our audio. So we really want to keep the environment as contained as we can. So no windows are open, nobody's smoking, it's not on our clothing or anything like that. And but we know there's paranormal theory that sometimes can be spirit.
Right, smells can be associated with it. Yeah.
With memory. We don't have a memory with these people, but so it was odd to us because it just didn't fit the situation.
No,
right?
but there was claims, if you remember, like previous people had claims about the cigarette smoke as well.
Right.
Smelling it.
Right. So I think on this next clip, we're talking about smells, paranormal, having the same kind of conversation we're having right now.
Right.
And then we experience the footsteps. So here's the clip. That's why memories, and just not even paranormal, like, oh, it smells like you smell brownies, and it makes you think of your grandma's. Was that a footstep?
That was something.
So you could hear, after we were talking about smelling, there were about 3 knocks or footsteps in there, and then we acknowledged the abnormal sound. So when we hear it with our own ears, this is what we're listening to when we go back to our audio. Was this something that we heard, or was it something that showed up later on our recordings? So this next clip, still from the same location, still from that hallway, a few minutes later, so we continued to discuss the knocks that we just heard. And
trying to debunk.
Trying to figure out what is it. What we were discussing it, and again, our first, even as the group, I'm not, I may be the primary skeptic of the group, but we all try to debunk to make sure, we want to solidify this evidence or see if there is some logical explanation. But so we're discussing it, and while we're talking about it, it does it again.
Was there 3? I heard 2. Oh, and I'm getting chills.
There it was.
That was it. So the knocks were a little bit louder in this clip, and that's why you heard a big gasp from me. And Curtis was he's our other investigator, he was getting some major goosebumps at that point. And the reason being, we've been investigating a long time, but it's been a long time, and this is a rare phenomenon
Right.
where we really, it is close up, it is on us, it's right underneath us, we feel it in the floor, and we're all experiencing it together. So that's really rare when it all comes together like that.
Yeah, and one of the things too is when we ask if it would do it, it didn't do it. Like we asked it to go ahead and to reproduce the sound, could not get it to upon our command. It just did it when it wanted to.
Right, which leans more to this being a residual type activity.
You even commented that in the video, that this is possibly residual. And yes, we got all this on video, by the way.
Yeah. So, if you're interested in seeing the video, we highly recommend going to okpri.com.
Go into investigations and then look under the 2023 cases and you'll see the McIntyre Villa mansion.
You can see my facial expression, I guess, too. Because, I'm the skeptic and this is not common for me to experience something I cannot explain, still to this day. Okay, we've got one more example of what we feel is a residual piece of activity. And this one comes out of an old Wild West saloon in Guthrie, Oklahoma, very haunted Guthrie, Oklahoma. Sometimes we just capture things like singing. So we'll let this one play for you so you can judge for yourself.
Right.
So this next clip actually answers your question that you had from earlier on whether a location that we investigate can have both a residual and an intelligent type haunting or activity. So this next clip goes back to the McIntyre Villa in Atchison, Kansas. And we are back on the second floor in, I believe, the library, which was formerly Charles Donovan, the son of...
Part of his room, yeah.
Right. And
before
we were doing what we call an EVP session, so we're sitting down and we openly ask questions specifically to spirits who are present. And some people say it's similar to a seance, but we are not calling on anything. We are just specifically addressing whoever's in the room with us and not inviting anything that shouldn't be there. So just for clarity, because some people don't understand what investigators do. But in this clip...
In the clip, you can hear me. I come in and I'm saying, okay, we're back up on the second floor. If any one of want to speak up, we're listening, basically, is what I'm saying. And what makes this clip unique is because I do believe fully that we got Charles's voice recorded on the CVP. We know that he suffered from depression, right? So in this clip, he says, "I'm sad." So this clip, you have to listen very, very close because it is just a slight whisper. Listen real close, and here you go. We'll play that clip for you now. So if there is anybody here that would like to speak up and say anything, we are listening. We are particularly interested.
So that one was really faint. It was just after you were talking, there's a pause, and then right before you come in and talk again, you can hear it. So that transitions us into intelligence. So it did, sound like he took the opportunity to tell you how he felt. And
that's an example of intelligence.
Yep, because he answered, well, it wasn't really a question, but you gave the opportunity for someone or something to come out and speak. We have some other examples of intelligent type of evidence or activity. And again, this is where they're able to respond. So there were a couple of older cases you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe our first one here?
Yeah, so one of them was our Red River case. And it's named Red River because it's basically down south, right where the Red River borders with Texas. So I'd gone in there and I had picked up on a male and female, a married couple, and they had actually built the home. It was around turn of the century, and eventually they passed away, and the house got given to their kids. And the kids didn't live in there. The kids ended up selling it. But at the time when we investigated this, I had a larger team. So we would split the team in half, and one part of the team would go in and investigate on the inside while the other second team would investigate on the outside, keeping in mind that we have our audio recorders on us all the time. So one of my male investigators that was outside investigating, he really had to go to the bathroom. And so he didn't want to go inside to disturb. Right, I know. This one's kind of a funny one too, honestly.
Right, yeah, I remember this one.
But he didn't want to go inside to disturb the team that was investigating in case they were getting some good activity. So he decides to relieve himself over by one of the big trees. In this EVP clip, we capture a female who is intelligently responding to what he is doing.
Put that down. What are you doing?
So as you could see, she was a little bit upset that he was peeing on her tree.
Just a little.
And then, a few seconds later, we get this second clip that is recorded, and it's the same lady.
So in that one, what do you think she's saying?
She is saying, his pants are off. And she's got her little southern accent. So, yeah.
She must be clutching her pearls at the same time.
Oh, I'm sure. Rolling over in her grave one way or the other.
Okay, we have a couple more intelligent EVP or audio clips.
Right. This next one's at the Harn Homestead. It's in Oklahoma City. It's kind of like a historical home.
Yeah. If you're from Oklahoma, you've heard of this place.
Right. And to set it up for you a little bit, we were trying to get up in the attic area, but yet it was locked. And so we called the caretaker who had kind of let us in that evening, but he had already left. And you hear one of my investigators say, we can't get up there because we don't have the key. And then you have this male spirit that comes in and responds about the key. So we'll play that clip for you.
They didn't have the key with them. We can't get in there or not because he doesn't know which key it is. Oh, that's right.
Okay, so that one happened really quickly and it was a little bit quiet. So I'm going to clip that section, amplify it a little bit for you so you can hear it again.
That's right.
Okay, Christy, so where did he say the keys were?
He said they're right on the table. And do we see the keys? No, we did not.
So you didn't hear him say that at that time?
No, we actually didn't. I mean,
it seems to be interacting, right? So that's what's really...
That's intelligent.
Cool. And again, these clips aren't things that are commonly captured. These are some old clips. It's been a while since we've had something that clear. Occasionally we do, and you've heard a couple, especially the footsteps that were residual, but I mean, those are rare phenomenon. I mean, if they happened all the time, nobody would have any doubts or be skeptical about paranormal activity. But because they're so rare, it's hard to catch them, which is why science is not on board with paranormal, because we can't recreate it. And again, it's rare. So all the more interesting, right? This is why we have a good conversation and why it makes for a great podcast.
Right, and that's why we're always keeping our audio recorder going from the time we get out of the car, because you just never know when they're going to jump in on your conversation.
And I'm always coming back for more, hoping to hear more, because I know my logical brain says I can't possibly be true. So, I mean, here we are. So, any more? We have any more?
Yeah, we actually have one more intelligent one that I would like for us to play. It was taken at the Stone Lion Inn.
Yes, another oldie but goodie.
Oh, yes. There's 2 sets of stairwells in this old mansion. It's like 8,000 total square feet, 4 floors between the attic and the basement. And the servant staircase is just right off the kitchen, and it is very steep stairs. And so one of my team members at the time always insisted on wearing flip-flops. So guess what? Yep. Do you see this happening?
Open-toed shoes is never a good idea.
She's going down the stairs, right? And the last stair is a little bit off shaped than the other stairs. So she slips and falls forward, catches herself, but she catches it on one of the pipes. Like
this
the
is
water
in the basement,
pipes.
right?
Yes, in the basement. And so the pipe breaks, and here I am freaking out. It's 3:00 in the morning, and we don't usually damage anything in a property, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we broke a pipe at this beautiful mansion, And so this next EVP clip was actually recorded. I'm freaking out, okay? I am freaking out about the pipe. So this next EVP is recorded right after the discovery of the pipe breaking and right as I'm freaking out a bit. And just a little heads up, this clip does have a little bit of foul language in it.
The piping broke on it. Damn.
That's the residual water that was in the pipe.
So did you calm down?
Oh, yeah, I calmed down for sure after I got my dad up there about 4 o'clock in the morning to fix the pipe.
Your dad, who is the handyman, fix-it-all.
That's right. But, let me say, I don't think it was very nice of that female spirit to call me a name. Like, I'm one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
So, even though I was upset, that still doesn't make me that name that she called me.
Nobody on the team would have said anything like that.
Oh, no. They know better. I would have been like, you off the team.
All right. So the last topic in this episode to discuss are the times where we're not really sure what we captured on our audio is evidence of something residual or intelligent. We can't really tell if they're trying to interact with us. It's just some random conversation.
Right.
So we have one example. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, this one is from Kendall's Restaurant, located in Noble, Oklahoma, and a very popular and well-loved by many
One
restaurants.
of my favorites.
Yes, known for its chicken fried steak challenge. Also, its cinnamon rolls. Oh my gosh, those are to die for. And the third thing is its ghosts. So, we will go ahead and set up this clip a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So this is one where, again, we're talking about unknown, if it's residual or intelligent. We've been to this location multiple times, and we've had public events there. They've become friends and really kind of like family to us.
Kim and Dee are awesome people.
Right.
The owners of it.
Super friendly. You should definitely, if you're in the area, you need to go there. That's where you're going to have dinner.
Oh, for sure. They're even so good, they've made Travel Oklahoma. And some of they've had
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Kendall's there. We love it.
Yeah.
So we sometimes capture clips like this one, and we're not really sure if what we're hearing is spirit asking for help from us or if it's residual in what they were saying at the time of their death. So this is a really good example of that because it doesn't really fit into the conversation, but you'll hear this voice come in,
male voice,
and say help, and then there's kind of an exhale that happens. So listen really carefully. It's a little bit whispery. But yeah, it's just the kids at home. While they're little. Okay, so you can hear me having a conversation with somebody. So the skeptic is going to say, hey, there's somebody else there. And it's hard if you weren't actually there to hear the conversation and experience the conversation and know who else is around you and have that memory that nobody else spoke while you were speaking. Those are things that we keep in mind as we go back and listen to our audio. So it's actually more impactful for the person who's doing the investigating when you're reviewing audio because you remember and you can visualize where you were as you're playing back that audio. We're confident that nobody else was there, that we've close down the environment so that we don't get any accidental contamination from people. We have rules where we're not whispering because, as you can hear, a lot of these voices are very whispery. So we have a rule that we don't whisper. If we accidentally whisper, we say, oh, that was me.
Yep.
So we call that tagging our audio. We do that a lot. And that's to kind of help with the skeptics, as we should, because we might forget that we whisper, especially if you're a new investigator, and it's very easy to, when it's dark and quiet, to lower your own voice to a whisper.
But we got that rule: when in doubt, toss it out.
Right.
So as you're going through listening, if you can't remember or if you're not really sure, then you just get rid of it.
So the ones that we do share, we are confident that
those are legit EVPs.
But, we go through a lot of debate over these clips.
Lots of back and forth.
Yes. And we share, and we actually listen from another point of view from a different audio recorder to see if we captured the same
We mark time so that way we know where to go back and listen.
But all of this we put together to help the client to determine, is this something that's actively interacting with them, or is this potentially something that could residual. Be imprinted into the environment?
Right. Well, when I listen to this clip, I will say, sounds like a male to me. Right. And just from the psychic point of view, you could be standing around talking, and I could just picture in my mind this poor male spirit standing there, and he's asking for help, help. And then when he's not acknowledged, because, if you're not psychic at all, you're psychic as a rock, basically, he could get a little frustrated, and that would be the reason for the exhale. So help, no help, no help.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So is this an intelligent one? Well, if I had to guess, I would say yes, but others may say, hey, it's residual.
We're not sure, because who knows if the moment of their death, there's a lot of stress and release of energy into the environment, which would imprint that sound in the right conditions that happen to be picked up on the audio recorder. Of course, this is a stretch when you're the skeptic. It seems like a lot scientifically to have happen. The environment has to be perfect for it to be something residual that we just so happen to have captured just at the right time, that we have a recorder going. But
right.
So these are the things we talk about. And of course, we're not going to have the answers. It's just going to keep bringing questions and the desire to keep wanting to find more
and to learn more. That's one of the things that we do on, with our investigations, is every time we go, it seems like you have an opportunity to learn something more that you didn't know before.
Which is why you should keep coming back for more episodes in the future, or you can check out our website again at okpri.com, or you can come to our Facebook page where we post a lot of the activity that we've been finding. Sometimes we'll do a Facebook Live while we're on an investigation.
Yeah, follow along.
Follow along with us at facebook.com/okparanormal. You can email us with your questions, topics, and even your own parastories at psychicandskeptic, all spelled out, at gmail.com. Find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts, and thank you for listening.
Because the paranormal is the normal.
Not yet understood.